Here's a question nobody ever taught you in school. What if the thing you have been pulling out of your garden, spraying with weed killer, and throwing into the bin was actually medicine? Not folktale medicine, not old wives' tale medicine. Real medicine, backed by researchers, studied in laboratories, used by doctors in other parts of the world for centuries. The World Health Organization says that 80% of the world's population still relies on plant-based medicine as their primary form of healthcare. 80%. That is not a fringe belief. That is the majority of the human race. And yet, here in Britain and America, we spend billions every year on supplements, pills, and remedies, while the most nutritious, most healing plants on earth are growing 2 feet outside our back door. Today, I am going to show you 8 of them. 8 plants you have almost certainly seen this week. 8 plants most people consider weeds. And I'm going to show you exactly what they heal, what is inside them, how to use them safely, and what the science actually says. Stay until the end, because I've put together a simple identification guide, one you can screenshot on your phone and take outside today. Let's start. Plant 1. Dandelion. You know this one. You've spent years trying to get rid of it. Here is what nobody told you. Gram for gram, dandelion leaves contain more iron than spinach, more beta-carotene than carrots, and more calcium than milk. The whole plant, root, leaf, and flower, has been used as medicine since at least the 1st century AD. The Greek physician Dioscorides wrote about it. Traditional Chinese medicine has used it for over 1,000 years as a liver and kidney tonic. So why do we hate it so much? A 2023 research review published on PubMed confirmed the dandelion contains a group of compounds called sesquiterpene lactones. These give it a slightly bitter taste, and that bitterness is actually the medicine. Those compounds stimulate bile production, which means your liver and gallbladder get to work properly. They support digestion. They have shown real antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects in laboratory studies. How to identify it? Look for the jagged, tooth-edged leaves growing flat to the ground in a rosette. Pull a stem. It will be hollow and release a tiny drop of milky white sap. One single yellow flower per stem. And of course, the puffball seed head you probably blew as a child. How to use it? The young leaves are slightly bitter but perfectly edible raw in a salad. The root can be dried and roasted as a coffee substitute. It has no caffeine, so it will not keep you up at night. As a tea, use 1 to 2 teaspoons of dry root or leaf per cup, brewed 3 times a day. Please note that if you take water tablets, diuretics, speak to your doctor first because dandelion has a natural diuretic effect. It should also be avoided by anyone with a blocked bile duct or gallstones. But for most healthy adults, this is one of the most nutritionally dense things growing in your garden, and you've been throwing it away. But the next one, most people step right over it every single day, and it might be the most powerful natural wound healer in your entire garden. Plant number 2, broadleaf plantain. Not the banana, the weed. When European settlers arrived in North America, Native Americans noticed this plant seemed to follow them everywhere they went. They called it white man's footprint because it took root wherever the settlers walked. What the settlers did not realize was that the Native Americans had already discovered it was one of the most effective wound-healing plants they had ever encountered. This plant contains a compound called allantoin, which has been shown in clinical studies to actively promote skin cell regeneration and reduce scarring. A 2022 study from Iran tested a gel made from plantain on burn patients. It reduced scarring by 35% compared to a standard treatment. That is not folklore. That is a controlled clinical trial. How to identify it? Oval leaves with very distinct parallel veins running from the base to the tip, almost like ribbed ridges. Grows flat to the ground. Sends up a thin flower spike that looks almost like a miniature bulrush. How to use it? For insect bites, bee stings, or small cuts. Pick a fresh leaf, chew it briefly to break it down, and press it directly onto the skin. Hold it there for a few minutes. This is called a chew poultice, and it has been used across Europe, Asia, and the Americas for centuries. For a cough or irritated throat, brew the dried leaves as a tea. It is one of the safest plants on this list. Mild, effective, and completely free. Now plant number 3 looks almost decorative. It's the one people actually like to see in the garden, but it contains a compound being studied in clinical trials for something that affects millions of women. Plant number 3, red clover. Red clover. Those pink-purple little ball flowers you see in lawns and meadows throughout summer. Here's what makes it remarkable. Red clover is rich in a group of compounds called isoflavones, specifically ones called genistein, didzine, and biochonin A. These are plant-based compounds that act in a similar way to estrogen in the body, and that matters enormously for women going through menopause. A clinical trial published in 2023 gave 120 women 80 milligrams of red clover isoflavones daily. After 12 weeks, hot flush frequency dropped by 42%, not a little, nearly half. That is a significant result from a proper randomized controlled trial. It has also been used historically for skin conditions, respiratory complaints, and as a general blood cleanser across European, Celtic, and Native American traditions for over 500 years. How to identify it? Three round leaflets, often with a pale V-shaped marking in the center. Pink to purple globe-shaped flowers. Stems are slightly hairy. Grows in lawns, meadows, and rough grass all across the UK and US. How to use it? As a tea. Steep a teaspoon of dried flowers in hot water for 10 minutes. 1 to 3 cups a day is the traditional guidance. Important caution here. Because of its estrogen-like effects, anyone with a hormone-sensitive condition, including certain types of breast cancer, should talk to their doctor before using red clover. And it can interact with blood thinning medication. Plant 4 is one most people think is completely useless, a tiny, delicate little thing. But European herbalists have been prescribing it for one very specific and very common condition since the 1600s. Plant 4, chickweed. If you have ever had eczema, psoriasis, or that maddening itch that wakes you up at night, this little plant has been the answer for a very long time. The herbalist Nicholas Culpap wrote about chickweed in the 1650s, specifically for skin irritation and inflammation. And while chickweed does not yet have the same weight of clinical trials behind it as some of the other plants on this list, its traditional use across European and Chinese medicine for skin conditions has been remarkably consistent for 400 years. It contains compounds called saponins and flavonoids, which have demonstrated anti-inflammatory and soothing properties. It is rich in vitamin C, and it has a cooling drawing quality that herbalists have relied on for centuries. How to identify it? Very small paired oval leaves. Tiny white star-shaped flowers with 5 petals that look like 10 because each petal is split. The most reliable identification sign is a single fine line of hairs running up one side of the stem. Run your finger along it and you can feel it. How to use it? Fresh leaves can be blended or crushed and applied directly to itchy or inflamed skin as a poultice. You can also infuse the fresh plant in oil for a few weeks and use that topically. The young fresh leaves are perfectly edible in a salad. Mild, slightly grassy taste. It grows abundantly in cool, moist weather. Spring and autumn are the best times to find it. Plant 5 is the one that fights back. It stings you the moment you touch it. But that sting, that's actually the medicine. And what this plant can do for your body will genuinely surprise you. Plant 5. Stinging. Nettle. Stinging nettle. The plant everybody in Britain knows. The plant everybody has been stung by as a child. And almost nobody knows what it can actually do. Let's start with nutrition. Cooked nettle leaves contain more bioavailable iron than red meat, more calcium than milk. They are rich in magnesium, vitamin K, and chlorophyll. The Romans actually knew this. They brought nettles with them when they invaded Britain and used a practice called urtication, deliberately flogging painful joints with fresh nettles to trigger circulation and reduce inflammation. It sounds extreme, but a 2000 study in the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine found it actually worked. Patients with osteoarthritis reported significant pain reduction after urtication compared to a dead plant. Control. For allergies and hay fever, stinging nettle extract has been tested in clinical trials. A randomized double-blind trial found that freeze-dried nettles significantly reduced hay fever symptoms compared to placebo. And for men, multiple clinical studies have found nettle root extract helps with the symptoms of an enlarged prostate. A meta-analysis covering 5 separate trials showed it meaningfully reduced urinary symptoms. In Germany and Austria, nettle root extract is an approved over-the-counter prostate medicine. How to identify it? Serrated heart-shaped leaves covered in tiny hollow hairs that inject formic acid when touched. Square stem. Tall, upright growth. Usually found in damp ground near streams, walls, or disturbed soil. How to use it? Cooking or drying completely removes the sting. Young spring tops boiled or steamed like spinach are delicious. As a tea, steep 2 teaspoons of dried leaf. The dried and freeze-dried versions are available as supplements. Look for 300 milligrams of extract as the clinically studied dose. Avoid if you're on blood pressure medication, blood thinners, or diabetes medication without speaking to your doctor first. Number 6 is probably sitting in your garden right now, and most people spray it with weed killer without a second thought. But it contains something that almost no other plant on land can match, and your heart will thank you for knowing this. Plant 6. Purslane is possibly the most nutritionally underrated plant in the Western world. In Greece, Turkey, and across the Middle East, this plant is a beloved food in salads, pickled, stir-fried. In China, it has been used medicinally since at least 500 BC. In the West, we spray it with herbicide. Here is the fact that should stop you in your tracks. Purslane contains more omega-3 fatty acids than any other land plant ever tested. The specific compound is called alpha-linolenic acid, the same type found in oily fish and flaxseed. Omega-3s are critical for heart health, brain function, and reducing chronic inflammation. And most older adults in the UK and US are not getting enough of them. Purslane also contains melatonin, yes, the sleep hormone, in meaningful amounts. A 2024 study identified elevated melatonin compounds in purslane that may contribute to improved sleep. It is also rich in vitamins A, C, and E, and contains glutathione, one of the body's most powerful internal antioxidants. How to identify it? Slightly succulent red or reddish-green stems. Small, paddle-shaped fleshy leaves that grow in clusters. Tiny yellow flowers. Grows low and sprawling, often in cracks between paving stones, garden beds, or bare soil. How to use it? The fresh leaves and stems have a pleasant, slightly tangy, lemony flavor. Eat them raw in a salad, add them to a sandwich, or stir-fry briefly like spinach. 20 to 30 grams of fresh purslane daily is the traditional guidance. One caution, purslane is relatively high in oxalic acid. If you are prone to kidney stones, keep your portions moderate and do not eat it every single day. Plant 7 grows in a wide range of gardens and fields across Britain and America, and it has a remarkable story behind it. 5 entirely separate ancient cultures, with no contact with one another, independently discovered the same medicinal use for this plant. That kind of cross-cultural consensus is almost impossible to ignore. Plant 7. Sheep sorrel. When 5 completely separate civilizations, European, Chinese, Native American, Ayurvedic Indian, and Egyptian, all arrive at the same use for a plant without ever communicating with each other, that is worth paying attention to. Sheep sorrel has been used consistently across those traditions for digestive complaints, fever, and as a rich source of vitamin C, historically important as a scurvy, preventative long before modern medicine understood why. It contains quercetin, a flavonoid with well-documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It is also notably high in oxalic acid, which gives it a sharp, lemony sour taste, and vitamin C. In North America, it became one of 4 key ingredients in a traditional herbal formula called Essiac, which has been studied as a complementary cancer support, though the clinical evidence there remains limited and it is not a treatment. How to identify it? The leaves are the key. They are arrow-shaped, with 2 small lobes pointing backwards at the base, like a little arrowhead. Stems are often reddish. Grows in patches in lawns, fields, and roadsides. Smaller and more delicate than common sorrel. How to use it? Young leaves are edible. Raw and have a pleasant, sharp, citrusy flavor. Use sparingly as a garnish or in small salads. As a tea, steep a small handful of fresh leaves briefly. The key word with sheep sorrel is moderation. Its high oxalate content means it should be a regular small addition rather than a large daily serving. Avoid if you have kidney disease, a history of kidney stones, or rheumatoid arthritis. And now, plant 8, the final one. It looks almost identical to sheep sorrel from a distance, but it has its own distinct identity and its own ancient story. Look closely next time you're in the garden. You will probably find it there. Plant 8. Wood sorrel. Wood sorrel. Wood sorrel is one of those plants you have almost certainly seen and never thought twice about. It looks like a clover, but the leaves are different. Instead of round leaflets, wood sorrel has heart-shaped leaflets. 3 perfect little hearts per stem. It has a charming habit of folding its leaves closed at night, as though it is going to sleep. It has been eaten by people on almost every continent for thousands of years. Native Americans, Viking explorers, and medieval European peasants all knew it as a sharp, refreshing trail food. It tastes unmistakably lemony and sharp, much like sheep sorrel, because it too contains oxalic acid and a good measure of vitamin C. Traditionally, it has been used for nausea, digestive complaints, mouth sores, and as a cooling plant during fevers. As a nutritional source of vitamin C, it would have been genuinely important to populations who had little access to fresh citrus fruit. How to identify it? Three heart-shaped leaflets on a thin stem, small white or pale yellow flowers with delicate purple veining. Grows in shady, damp areas, under hedges, in woodland edges, in the shadier corners of a garden. Folds its leaves shut in the evening. How to use it? Fresh raw leaves as a garnish or in small salads. Chewing a few leaves can soothe mouth ulcers and freshen breath. As a tea, a small handful steeped in hot water with a little honey makes a pleasant lemony infusion. Keep portions modest. The same oxalate caution applies as with sheep sorrel. Before I show you the identification guide, I want to be completely straight with you about something. Not all 8 of these plants have the same weight of clinical evidence behind them. Stinging nettle, dandelion, broadleaf plantain, yarrow, and red clover have proper published clinical trials. Peer-reviewed, replicated. These are not small things. Chickweed, cleavers, sheep sorrel, and wood sorrel have centuries of consistent traditional use and some laboratory evidence, but fewer large clinical trials. That does not mean they do not work. It means the research has not caught up yet. The honest position is this: some of these plants are proven. Some are deeply traditional with early scientific support. None of them are dangerous if used sensibly by a healthy adult who has read the precautions. But none of them replace a conversation with your doctor if you have a specific health condition or take regular medication. Use them thoughtfully. Use them well. Screenshot this now and take it outside. These plants are almost certainly within 50 feet of where you are sitting. For most of human history, people knew these plants. They were not alternative medicine. They were just medicine. The only medicine available. Somewhere in the last 100 years, we forgot what was growing at our feet. You do not need an expensive supplement. You do not need to order anything online. You need to walk outside, look down, and know what you are looking at. Now you do. Tell me in the comments, which of these is growing in your garden right now, and where in the world are you watching from? I genuinely want to know. If this video opened your eyes even a little, subscribe. Because next week, I am going to show you how to actually make a medicinal tea, a tincture, and a simple healing salve at home using exactly these plants, step by step. No equipment needed. And if you want to go deeper right now, I have left links in the description to the PubMed studies I referenced today, so you can read the actual science for yourself. Thank you for watching.